Good afternoon for me. Since we are not going to be able to go over the pediatric considerations for clinicals, I have come up with a PowerPoint for the pointers as well as some stuff for the calculations. So I'm going to be presenting that to you now. If you have any questions or concerns when I'm finished, please feel free to let me know. Thank you. All right, we're going to be talking particularly about IV pediatric considerations, and then at the end of the PowerPoint, I've got some pointers for taking care of a pediatric patient since I didn't get to do this with you in SimLab this week. All right, let's start out by looking on page 764 in your Peds book, and this is what it says in case you don't have your Peds book handy. It says, this is our formula for calculating the weight of a child in kilograms. Of course, we divide by 2.2. It should be about half your pounds, hint, hint. So always remember that your kilograms is about half your poundage. So if you look at something and you're looking at the poundage and it's about double, you know you did it wrong. It should always be about half of the poundage. So the first thing you have to do is convert your weight, if it's in pounds, to kilograms. Then you simply follow the formula. If the child weighed between 1 to 10 kilograms, they would get 100 meals for every kilogram. So let's say they weighed 8 kilograms. 8 times 100 would be 800 cc's they would get in a 24-hour period. Now, if they weigh between 11 and 20 kilograms, you have to add what they would have had for 1 to 10, which is a max of 1,000. Because if they weigh 10 kilograms, it would be 10 times 100 meals per every kilo. So it would be 10 times the 100 would be 1,000. So if they weigh between 11 and 20 kilograms, it's your 1,000 plus 50 meals per kilo for every kilogram up to the next 10 between 11 and 20. Then if they weigh over 20 kilograms, they would get the 1,000, the 500, and then 20 meals per kilo for every kilogram over 20 kilograms. Then once you get the total, you divide by 24 hours to obtain your milliliters per hour. And you've got to know this formula. So let's just do a couple of them together here. Let's first of all say our child weighed 9 kilograms. Okay. If they only weighed 9 kilograms, they fall in the first category, 1 to 10 kilograms. So I simply have to take 100 meals per kilo, and they weigh 9. So it would be 100 times the 9, 900 meals. And then if I wanted to know how many they were going to get in a 24-hour period, I would divide that by 24, and I would get 37.5. So that's what they should get per hour. So if they had an IV pump and they were completely NPO, they shouldn't be getting more of about 37.5, 38 cc's per hour. All right, let's say we weigh another child and they weigh 15 kilograms, okay? We figured it up and they weigh 15 kilograms. Well, for the first 10 of that, they're going to get 100 meals per kilo, which would be 1,000. And I take 10 off my 15, that leaves 5 extra kilograms. And now they're going to get 50 meals per kilo for every kilogram over that. So I've got 5 left over, so 5 times the 50 is 250, and I add that to the 1,000, 1,250, divided by my 24, would give me they can have no more than 52 cc's an hour. Okay. Now let's say we have a child and we weigh them and they weigh 24 kilograms. They weigh 24 kilograms. Well, we know they're going to get 1,000 for the first 10. So I'll subtract that. That leaves 14 kilograms, right? For up to the next 10, they're going to get 50 meals per kilo. So I would subtract 10 more. That leaves 4 at the end. So that would be the 500. So I would add 1,000 plus the 500, and that gets 20 kilograms off. 20 minus my 24 leaves 4 over, and for anything over that, it is 20 meals per kilo. So my 4 times my 20 would be 80. So 1,580. Then if I wanted to know how many that was per hour, I divide that by 24, and they can have no more than 65.8 cc's per hour. So that's an example of how you do that. If that does not make sense, then you need to get in touch with me. So, what if I get a reading and it's over? Let's say the last one we just did, the 24 kilogram child, said that they were supposed to be getting 65.8 or 66 cc's per hour. Let's say we go in, and for this particular child, we see that the pump is set for 75 cc's per hour, and we have figured the max they should be getting is 65.8 cc's per hour. What should you do? You should critically think. You should start gathering data like the RN does and assessing the situation. Let's go back and start looking at the reasons they were admitted. Number 1. Let's say this child has been vomiting for the last 2 days straight with diarrhea and is severely dehydrated according to the lab. And right now they're NPO. So looking at the lab values, looking at the NPO status, let's say they were a little bit tachycardic, blood pressure was a little bit low. I know they're dehydrated. Well, if I know they're dehydrated, then I'm not as concerned about an IV going at 75 cc's an hour. They need extra fluids. But let's say we went to the chart, the same patient, and they were supposed to get 65.8 cc's an hour, and it is set at 75 cc's an hour. And I look at the reason for admission, and it is to receive some, let's say they're in with, I don't know, otitis media. Okay, chronic otitis media. And they've been running a real high fever, and they've been pulling at their ears and really fussy, so they're in for some follow-up work, okay? And they are completely on a regular diet, so they're taking in all kinds of fluids, and they're in for follow-up, and they're drinking fine. Then I am more concerned about a 75 cc per hour rating, especially if I look at the labs and they're fine, other than maybe, the white blood count being up. Also look at your type of solution and make sure that it's matching what the patient is in for. Now, y'all will be going over that in fluid and electrolytes in depth. So, for children, for the most part, we give D5 and a fourth, which is considered an isotonic solution because the fourth is not enough to push it over. And occasionally we will give D5 and a half, okay, which is a hypertonic solution. So D5 and a fourth is the most common solution you will give to children, but D5 and a half is also acceptable. Now, again, you're going to have to think critically about each individual patient and assess them. Assessment is the key before you call the doctor. Okay, so let's look at these 3 examples. We have Amy Smith, who's 6 months old. She weighs 22 pounds, and she's admitted with dehydration. She has an IV of D5 and a fourth at 42 cc's an hour. Is this safe? Okay, so what's our first step? We've got to convert our pounds. So if you don't have a calculator at this point, you need to pause and get one. 22 divided by 2.2 equals 10 kilograms. So 10 kilograms, if I go back to my formula for the first 10 kilograms, it's 100 mils per kilo. So that would be 1,000. 10 times the 100 is 1,000. So this child's getting 1,000 mils, and if I divide the 1,000 by 24, it would be 41.6 cc's per hour. Is this a safe range? Well, let's see. They were admitted with dehydration, so we know they need the minimal amount of fluid. We don't know if they're taking in any fluids or not, so that would be the minimum they would need to maintain hydration status. So yes, this is definitely a safe range. Probably actually wouldn't even hurt if it was a little bit higher, but they may be drinking better now. But that one is absolutely safe. Okay. Let's look at number 2, Pebbles Creek. This is a 2-year-old, 35 pounds, 9 ounces. admitted with RSV and has an IV of D5 1/4 at 54 cc's an hour. Is this safe? Now, I threw you a little curveball on this one, and then I put ounces down as well. So you have to do 2 steps. You can't just take 35.9 divided by 2.2 because it's poundage in ounces. You have to get it all in pounds. So we know that there are, what, 16 ounces in a pound is equal to 9 ounces over x. 16x is equal to 9. So you always divide by 16 pretty much to get your answer. So 9 divided by 16 equals 0.56. You always go to the hundredth spot with children. 0.56. So now I know that that's 0.56 of a pound, 9 ounces is. If there's 16 ounces in a pound, then I set mine up ratio proportion. 16 ounces is to a pound is equal to 9 ounces over x and cross multiply. 16x is equal to 9. Divide both sides by 16. X is equal to 0.56. So now I can say 35.56 divided by 2.2. So 35.56 divided by 2.2 equals 16.16, okay, kilograms. So we go to the hundredth, 16.16 kilograms, okay. So now Pebbles Creek is 2 years old, 35.9 ounces, admitted with RSV, has an IV, D5 1/4, that's appropriate, at 54 cc's an hour. Is that safe? Well, if they're 16 kilograms, 0.16, so for the first 10, they can have 100 meals per kilo. So that would be my 1,000. So minus 10, that leaves 6.16 left over. And for the next 10, they have 50 meals per kilo. So I take my 6.16 times my 50, and that gives me 308. Plus my 1,000 is 1,308 divided by 24 is 54.5. So 54 cc's would be a safe range for this child. The answer is yes. Now, Sandy Harmon is 6 years old, 55 pounds, admitted with acute appendicitis, fresh post-op. So we know she's probably lost a lot of fluids downstairs. She's got an IV going to normal saline at 70, probably wanting to replenish the fluids she's lost in surgery. Is this safe? All right, we have an isotonic solution going, so we're not causing a shift, we're replenishing. 55 pounds, so 55 divided by 2.2 is 25 kilograms, okay? So for the first 10, they get 100 meals per kilo, that would be 1,000. For the next 10, subtract that, that leaves 5 left over, they get 500, and they only have 5 left over. 20 times the 5 is 100, so that would be 1,600 divided by 24. That would be 66.6 cc's an hour, which would be normal. Now, this is a little above. It's set at 70, but she just came back from surgery from having acute appendicitis. So are we as concerned about this patient being a little over? No. So, would all three of these be considered safe ranges? The answer is yes, it would. Alright, so don't forget to assess the situation before always calling a doctor. The answer is yes, yes, and yes. Now, there's 3 main differences between adult and pediatric dosages. Dosages are usually dramatically smaller. That means if you're drawing up a couple of syringes, a syringe full of medication, you need to be going, uh-oh, red flag, red flag, red flag, because usually something's not right. If you start giving over a meal of something, start backtracking to make sure that you figured it correctly. Now, with antibiotics, that may be the case, but with some of these other meds, it should be dramatically smaller. Use of safety devices. If you're giving it hanging an IV, always have a Soluset/Buretrol, depending upon where you're at and what you call it, with arm restraints. You always want to have a restraint on that IV site to protect it. Because once you get an IV in a child, foremost, you don't want to have to stick them again because it was traumatic going in the first time. Solusets and Buretrols, if you don't know what those look like, all you need to do is go to YouTube and Google, and it will show you what they are. They're a little chamber added to a regular IV extension or IV primary tubing that allows for only so much to go in that chamber. And usually the rule of thumb is 1 to 2 hours worth, no, never any more than 2 hours. Because if something was to happen to the pump, and it does happen, there has been known IV pumps to malfunction and for children to get a lot more at a time than they were supposed to, end up in fluid overload. And I don't have to tell you where that went, okay? So you want to make sure that it's 1 to 2 hours worth in the Soluset, that you know how to do it the first time. If you've never messed with one, make sure your instructor or the primary nurse goes in there with you. With the IVs, you always undo the IV site to look at it, and you follow the policy of the institute. Some of the facilities will make you do it hourly, check their IV site. Some will set every time the Soluset goes off to be refilled, that's your cue to check the IV site. You just don't want to go all day long without it being checked, especially because most of them are wrapped. So yes, you're going to have to unwrap it, look at the site real well, and wrap it back. Dosage calculations are pretty much the same as the adults. You set it up either way you want, ratio, proportions, and means and extremes, however is best for you. But with children, just a few pointers with dosage calculations. You always use kilograms instead of pounds. Divide by 2.2. It should always be about half your poundage or you did something wrong. Calculate to the nearest hundredth. Calculate to the nearest hundredth and double check all. It doesn't say some, almost, it says all. Meds with another healthcare provider. I don't care if you're giving Tylenol and ibuprofen. Double check it with someone to make sure that you've got the right amount and that you're using the right solution. It's particularly Tylenol. It comes in drops. They're very concentrated drops, to liquid, which is not as concentrated. So you want to know which one you're giving, because that matters on the amount that you're going to be administering. So just keep those things in mind when you're giving pediatric medications. So an antibiotic dosage of 50 milligrams has been ordered, diluted in 100 of D5W to infuse over 60 minutes. A microdrop will be used, 60 drops per minute, and an infusion control device. Calculate the flow rate in drops per minute necessary to deliver this medication. This is just flow rate, and anytime there's flow rate, this is always your formula, whether it's a ped or an adult. It's the amount of solution times the drop factor divided by the hour in minutes. That means if you were giving it over 8 hours, then you have to multiply that by 60, because there's 60 minutes in an hour. So it would be divided by 480. So however many hours converted to minutes. So let's take this problem. My total solution is 100 mils. My infusion time is going to be 60 minutes. And my drop factor is 60 drops per minute. The amount of solutions, 100 times my drop factor, 60, over hours and minutes, which is over an hour or 60 minutes. Cross out my 60s, and that leaves 100 drops per minute. Another one, safety is key with children. Always double check your meds with another nurse. Tag them at 250 IV piggyback every 6 hours. The recommended dose is 5 to 10 milligrams per kilogram every 6 hours. Is this a safe dose range for a child who weighs 80 pounds? Step 1 is going to be convert our pounds to kilograms. 80 divided by 2.2 will give me 36.36 kilograms, rounded to the nearest 100. 36.36 times my dosage range, which they can have 5 to 10 milligrams per kilogram every 6 hours. So I take my kilograms and multiply it by 5. That would give me, they can have 182 milligrams, my lower dose. I multiply that by 10, the upper dose, and they can have 363 on the upper limits. So this patient can have between 182 milligrams and 363 milligrams every 6 hours. Well, if you go back and look at the order, every 6 hours. She is getting 250 milligrams every 6 hours. So that falls between the 182 and the 363. So yes, this would be considered a safe dose for this child. All right. So if you've got any questions about any of that stuff that I talked about, please let me know, because you will start seeing those on your pediatric exams. Now, some pointers when you're taking care of peds. Never assume I know is being done. It is really easy if you have a patient who's been in there 2 or 3 days, you think, oh, they know this, the parents have been keeping up with it, there's no way they haven't. Some parents, if you don't remind them, they think it quit. And they'll tell you that. Well, no one said I need to do it anymore, so I assumed after that first I didn't have to do it again. So you want to go in first thing and make sure they've got a record keeping device for their INO, whether it be a piece of paper, an INO sheet, something to write down, and that they know how to do that. Make sure they're still saving the urine in the diapers for you to weigh, because you need to be weighing those. When you first go into the room, and if the child's in diapers, you want to make sure there are plenty in the room that have been pre-weighed. That means when you pick up each diaper, it should have a weight on the back of it. Usually they'll put it across the bottom, and they will put it with a black Sharpie marker. If not, and it's always weight in grams, then ask someone how to weigh the diapers if you're unsure at this point. You just take them all down to the room, you put them on the scales, you weigh them in grams, and you write it on the bottom of the diaper. You ask someone how, again, if unsure. Keep track of INO throughout the day, not just at the end of the day. If you've got a ped, you want to be going in there every so often when you go in there and seeing if there's any wet diapers, how much have they drank. You don't want to wait till the end of the day to know they've had one wet diaper all day long, or that they've took one bottle in all day long. That's a little late, waiting 8 hours, 12-hour shifts. So you want to make sure that you're keeping track of that throughout the day so that you can report any changes. If you've got a pediatric patient that's in a crib, if you go to do anything with that baby and you put that crib down, the rule is one hand on the baby at all times. I say that because a few years back, unfortunately, we had an incident that something happened, and this rule was not followed. So you want to make sure, crib down, one hand on the baby at all times. Check all meds with another nurse or instructor for accuracy. Yes, even Tylenol. So always double check all meds with another nurse or instructor, just to be on the safe side. Even if someone says yes, why? Of course that's the right answer, a right amount. Why are you showing that to me? You just go right along with them and say, because I feel safer with it being a pediatric patient that I double check my meds with someone else. I've put a YouTube on here for you to watch on infusion syringe pumps. Unfortunately, I could not find one like the one that they have at White River, but this link will at least show you what one looks like. If you have a pediatric who's getting any type of antibiotic that comes up in a syringe, you will need to use the syringe pump. Make sure you look at their policy and procedure, and do not do it without going with the primary nurse if this is your first time, and or instructor, to make sure that you're being accurate on how you set it up, because it does have quite a few steps to setting up the syringe pump. There's also special tubing in the supply closet that is used with the syringe pump that you will have to go in there and get the special tubing. Make sure the weight was done and recorded first thing in the morning. So all children should be on daily weights. So you need to go in there and make sure the weight was done and recorded. If you don't know where that's recorded at on the electronic MAR or electronic recording device, then you need to check with your primary, and they can show you where that should have been recorded. That's not something you want to catch at the end of the day. Again, when you're taking care of a pediatric patient, remember patient-centered care, and you're taking care of a family as well. You want to make sure they're comfortable, keeping them up to date, keeping them included in the care as much as possible. Remember your theorist. Take that handout with you over the growth and development theorists and apply their concepts throughout the day. We didn't just learn those for the fun of it. Check the IV site again as ordered, whether it be hourly, whether it be every time the pump goes off, whether it be whatever. But make sure that you're checking it per policy and that you're documenting that you're checking it per policy. Okay? No more than 2 hours, again, in the Soluset or Buretrol at once, and preferably an hour. Report any changes to the primary nurse as soon as possible. If you see any changes at all in vital signs, if you see any changes at all in status, you always want to notify the primary nurse immediately. And if in doubt, always ask. All right, I've got 3 more here. Practice makes perfect to do on the infusion. So I want you to do those, and you can email me, and I will let you know if you were on track or not. If you don't want to do them, you don't have to. It's strictly optional. If you understand it, all's well. All right, so let me know if you have any questions or concerns about general care of the pediatric patient or IV pediatric medication calculations, and I'll be glad to get with you. Thank you and have a wonderful day.